afternoon and welcome to the session this afternoon. This is the panel session and also the concluding session of this two-day program, KCMA convention. It's great, and when we look at the program, having seen it a few days back and also now reviewing it, and also having attended the previous session on GST, I think it's been planned and executed very well. We are slightly behind schedule and we'll try to make it up so that we conclude in about 70 to 75 minutes from now. But at the same time, I do not want to compromise on the quality of what we are going to discuss this evening now. We have eminent panelists here, Mr. Diwakaraiah, Mr. Karthikeyan and Rani vergis. It's phenomenal. And their experience, their combined knowledge and feel of the entire profession would stand us in great help to really deliver what a group like yours and also the entire CMA profession outside is looking for. Before we get into the details, and the methodology would be that I would moderate. It's my pleasure and privilege to moderate. And what I would be doing is asking certain questions related to the topic on hand and expecting and getting some inputs from the panelists. We will summarize it, and we'll also have a possibility of, if necessary, going back to certain points and getting it clarified. We'll definitely have some time allocated for the audience to question on the points that have been raised. I request the audience to think about what are the areas which they would like to get clarified from a point of view of the profession itself, what the institute is doing, what the individuals would be doing in terms of their own growth and their own career planning. I'm a CMA, and I have been a CMA for many, many years, decades. Like number of my colleagues, senior colleagues, past presidents, past chapter chairmen, all of them regional council, all of these people have contributed in a great way to the profession in their individual manner or collectively in their own professional areas as well as part of the institute. But still, we do have some concerns when we really look at projecting the profession on a grander scale, on a scale where the entire society looks up to the profession as a significantly different profession and also which has tremendous value to the society at large. When we talk about a profession, you talk about any profession, ultimately what the society realizes out of that profession is the most critical thing. And if you were to ask an average member of the society, whether it is a government or whether it is a general society member, they have a view and they have an opinion about what the profession is doing and what the profession has achieved and what it is supposed to achieve. This is the context under which we will be requesting our panelists to express their views. But having been associated with the profession, it is not easy to have an absolutely objective view. I have tried to, in the last couple of days, spend some time, look at our journal, also do a little bit of external research to say, what should this profession be doing? So what I thought I would share as an introduction is the scope that exists. That would be a good starting point. We would think of the real scope a profession like this is trying to fill in the overall gamut of the economic scenario. When Sripada, the chairman of the Bangalore chapter, was talking to me, he was mentioning that one of the key things that we have to look at is how are we going to meet the objective of the Prime Minister's objective of 5 trillion economy. In that context, if you look at it, you would find that the CMAs have a great role to fulfill. There are no two opinions about that. But how they will do it, what are those areas? I have tried to make a reasonably long list. I'm not going to go through all the points in the list, but at least some areas which I believe would be meaningful. So if you look at it, the first and foremost area that a lot of CMAs have been dedicating themselves is the regulatory area. Regulatory area, all the laws related to that, regulations, compliance, these are areas where CMAs have spent a lot of time and have also helped others to achieve certain goals in the economic sense. So this is a great area. But one area which is probably not being used adequately is the influencing factor connected with the regulations and building up of legislation, building up of the experience that goes behind regulations and compliance. So CMAs have a role to play. And this, if you compare some of the international societies, you find their influence or their participation, when I say influence and participation, being present and being part of the bureaucracy, being part of the political scenario, the politico-economic scenario, which helps drive the kind of legislation, the kind of regulations that are. So this is an area which probably we need to look at, and this is a great scope. The cost and management accounting, our people have done well, definitely over a long period, but the extent and the depth to which they have been able to influence themselves in forcing and managing strategic accounting and strategic directions for a business has not been up to the mark. But this is a huge area, and if you compare this with members from all over the world in different countries, this is an area which is really standing out as an area which definitely the profession needs to look at. So the strategic accounting, the strategic business decisions, the way in which corporates are supposed to move and how they are moving is an area which is very clearly open. And I request a lot of today it's great to see a lot of youngsters here, and these people, their future is going to be driven by this, and the areas of value related matters, and the total cost management and strategic cost management are big areas for that. Similarly, if you look at the startup, today startups occupy a huge area in the economic sphere. If you look at the startups, I have spent a fair amount of time with startups. I have never seen too many CMAs involved in that. I think the CMAs have a great role, and so startups is a very, very big area, which probably the concept of budgeting, the concept of projecting, the concept of future, all of these things. Even when these startups go for funding at different levels, there are professionals who help them, but CMAs are not making their mark in that area. And that is something which the nature of our work, the nature of what we learn and what we practice, very much fits into the scheme of how do you ensure that a startup does well and it starts getting properly funded and also going up in the hierarchy in terms of valuable business enterprise. Apart from this, the academic world is very open. The academic world is enormously open. If you just look at the number of theses that are written by CMA equivalents in the US and UK, runs into thousands. The same number, when we try to get the number of PhDs, for example, the people who are really driving the academic world in terms of our participation, this is an area which the appetite and aptitude in terms of risk-taking and in terms of what the realization, the wealth and other things that an individual wants to acquire is an issue which I believe can be managed. It can be balanced when people can spend time and develop theories and drive organizations, academic organizations to excellence in our area, in the CMA related area, is open. It's wide open. And there are clear gaps where there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Similarly, if you look at the tax regime itself, the interpretation, which is something which we do well, but the area of development and advisory work related to which comparable professions in certain areas have been able to make a very, very significant. If you look at the global, just take the income tax as a differentiator, and you look at the amount of value added on tax-related matters and guidance and advisory services, the multiplier between what CMAs are occupying is not in terms of small fractions, but in terms of 1,000. That is a kind of multiplier you're talking about in a similar space that other professions are able to do, which we have certain challenges in, whereas we have a very clear scope for that. So if you look at it, these are a few areas. I actually listed out 16 areas. And these areas, on the one side, we also need to look at the sectors. The sectors, you take, for example, defense as a sector, manufacturing as a sector, agriculture as a sector, services, banking and financial services, and if the IT, the growth of certain sectors, service sectors, which have happened significantly, in proportion to the GDP. If you look at the applicability of CMAs in proportion to the GDP on some of these sectors, you will find certain sectors extremely underrepresented. And this I'm not able to explain. I have said this so many times. I've tried to move people where I had an opportunity. For example, a large organization which I worked for all my life, they had a mechanism to track what is the level of service that is being rendered to the service, to the sector which is in growth mode. And the proportion in which you are providing services determines whether you're doing right or not. So if you take just a very ballpark figure of 50 to 60% is the service sector, our CMA is doing 50 to 60% of the professional work in the service sector, you would find it's much less. The manufacturing sector, which may be 20, 22% or less, has a larger influence and the footprint of CMAs. So if you look at it from the point of view of basic areas of expertise, and if you look at it from the point of view of what sectors one is involved, a combination of this gives you a possibility of anything in the region of 100 to 120 different modules. One module for a career lifetime is more than enough. You don't even have to multiply your modules, but you can build expertise on 3 or 4 of these modules. But if you have 120 and above modules that are available, and that is something which I'm really curious, and I would like to request my panelists to throw some light on where are those areas where we need to be looking at, and what is it that we are not doing it adequately today, which we can change, and how do we make this change happen, both by way of individual efforts. Obviously, you can't say, oh, this has to be done by government regulations, or this has to be done by the institute, or this has to be done by CMA groups, or this has to be done by me. So ultimately, a very significant responsibility rests on the shoulders of the individuals also. So we would have to see, and I've requested them in advance to look at it from the point of view of the individual professional, and also look at it from the group and the institute. So I would like to start by throwing open the first question, which is really, what do you believe, I'm asking the panelists, what do you believe is the general relevance of CMA profession in our country? Let's start with our country. And I would like to ask them to add to that, what should be, or what are the current practices or lack of current practices? What, if you believe that the profession is doing well, what are those we are doing right? What are those we need to be doing? That's one question. That's the first question. This question is a combination. Their opinion about what the relevance and the current status of the profession, and what they think are the right things or the wrong things that are not doing well. I have told them that I'm expecting an honest assessment, and I hope that the group here, the members and the delegates who are here, would also appreciate an honest assessment and will be willing to listen to it and also respond to it later. So my first question, I'd like to start with Mr. Diwakaraiah. What would be your opinion about the profession today, and what do you think we are doing right, what we are not doing right?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, Mr. Thiru, for giving a very good opening and this question. Whenever I see the cost accountant profession, over a period of time, what we saw is that cost accountants were good in the manufacturing sector. We were good in terms of putting up all these processes, trying to understand the process costing, or to look at the marginal costing and things like that. Whatever we have been practicing over a period of time were something good during the periods where industrialization was only with respect to the old age economy. I honestly feel sometimes when with the emergence of this new economy, which is now the new age economy, the service industry, where service industry is at a peak, there are chances that maybe our profession is not geared enough to look at the opportunities, what is available to practice or to give our contribution to the society. Some of the processes, some of the industries, if I look at it, so say for example, if I have to talk about healthcare, healthcare in India is basically in terms of these private organizations, which is basically into either a big nursing home or a very small hospitals, which serves most of the people in the country. What happens in this healthcare is something like that, the billing is not very transparent. Many of the places we still see that package kind of a billing is being done. When we talk about, a particular ailment which disease comes, the person who talks in terms of treating the patient, he tells the patients, with respect to, okay, this will be 25,000 or this will be 50,000. Neither the itemized bill will be there, nor there will be a details of provided that. This is basically because there are not enough professionals who have entered and tried to analyze this and fix the pricing properly. This is, with respect to talking to my industry where I am currently working. It is like, we are all the students of economics where we have read Friendly Shiraz has told ability to pay the taxes should be collected. It is exactly the same thing what the modern doctors sometimes places do. Whatever the patient's ability to pay, they assess it and then say this is the amount. It is neither based on any actual assessment or anything. This is some of the scopes, this is some of the areas where in the service industry, if the professionals like CMAs enter into and then try to fix up the process, they should eliminate the waste and all this. There is a lot of waste, even in this industry or any industries for that matter. That is what all adding up to the cost and cost to the either to the end user or a customer or something like that. We will be doing a great honor to the customer when we reduce the total cost. And that is possible by all of us by going through the processes, eliminating the cost, do the data mining properly, and things like that. I am sure that some of us will agree that somewhere our profession at this point of time lacks in terms of developing that analytical skill, but it's more into some of the old age industries. This is what generally I feel about whenever the cost accountants, or that's one of the reasons maybe in the service industry, which Mr. Thiruvengadam was mentioning about it. And we still have an edge in the manufacturing industries where we put up that old process costings and things like that, and because of which we still hold our heads high in that particular conventional costing system. I am sure that we have done a great job in terms of moving cost and works accountant to cost and management accountant. It is time that we move from the conventional industrialization periods to the new age economies as well and make our presence felt. This is what a honest assessment I feel about it.
Thank you, sir. Now I'd like to request Smt.Rani Vergis to offer her views.
Good evening to all of you. In fact, I'm working in an organization which has manufacturing, trading, as well as services. And over a period, I've been working for 30 or 35 years now. So over a period of time, what I personally, this is a total personal thing which I feel is, okay, our requirement in the country, first of all, they need somebody to certify the accounts, okay? CA people, they certify the accounts, all right. Now we have come a long way, and now that is not sufficient. We need to take decisions. And to take those decisions, we really need information. We cost accountants or chartered accountants, whoever, we need to move from just being information providers to decision makers. We have to be involved in the strategy. In fact, India just cannot afford to have a lot of professionals who are just giving information. That really doesn't help the country, that really doesn't help the economy to grow. We need to be the strategists. What I've seen is all the three professions, for that matter, CA, ICMA, as well as CS, we are, almost like only we people know us. Otherwise, if you see in the general public, people may know MBA finance. People may know engineering. There's something called engineering. But if you see CA, cost accountants, and all these things, only we people are really aware of what we can do. We have not really propagated the kind of contribution that we can make to the society, to the economy. So what is it that, how do we as individuals and as the institute, how do we bring this out? Now if you see reporting structure and all, so many cases keep happening. No? For a long time things have happened. In India, Satyam has happened. And such things, why do these happen? Because there's something lacking in the whole system, where our basic contribution has been limited to just giving information. And information what the management wants to provide, so-called management wants to provide to the outer world. So don't you think as professionals, as citizens of this country, we need to move away from that level? We have to, as professionals, move away from those things and believe that we can do something, become strategists, become decision makers. So this is what I feel, though our curriculum does provide a lot of information, but are we really putting it to use when it comes to decision making? So this is a big concern, which I've always felt about all the three. Okay, chartered accountants probably because their signatures matters, so they're given a little importance. But now with cost audit and all that, some higher, big companies need cost accountant signatures also. But we are all limited to that level only. So how to come out of this? This is what I keep thinking, that, see, so much we have to learn, so much we study to get these certificates, but eventually, are we really able to be content, satisfied that we have actually contributed to the economy? So that's my concern, and I do feel in the next level, we'll be able to suggest some things that the institute and we as individuals can do. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. One of the key areas that I wanted to earlier also mention is today we have a lot of software and information technology drives a lot of our work. And if you find the development of these packages, you take something like SAP or Oracle, the amount of effort and the amount of input that CMAs have provided into the development of these packages, there's a big area. And you will find that there is, many times I find that people who do not understand the fundamentals of what management accounting and costing and budgeting is, and they are providing, and that's how these institutions are not able to deliver a package which meets all the requirements of a management. Like Madam just now mentioned, the decision making and the strategic thinking greatly lies because we've learnt it, but we are not pushing it to the sense, even when you're creating certain things which are going to be long term, like the tools and so on. Now let's listen to Mr. Karthikeyan and see what his thinking is.
Thank you, Thiru. And thanks to all delegates. Good evening. See, I'm from a company secretary background. We are doing a lot of due diligence and a lot of activities in India. When we go for professional support, first thing will come to our mind is either a chartered accountant or a company secretary. CMA, even though they are there, they are supporting all the people. Compliance part, they are very strong. Undoubtedly, they are good at providing all the details, collating the statistics, product strategy, pricing. CMAs are number one, the best people. Unfortunately, while carrying out other activities like due diligence on companies or various other aspects, they restricted, CMA restricts to manufacturing industries. Beyond manufacturing, there are various other aspects. Like I heard someone was into IRP, insolvency resolution professionals. If you go to NCLT, company secretaries are there, chartered accountants are coming, chartered accountants, very less number are coming, lawyers are coming. No cost accountants are appearing before NCLT. Likewise, FEMA. FEMA is one of the most, very limited, very limited. Very limited. No, it is, my intention is not.
When you come to a new suggestion of IP, all the three professions are equally positioned. The number they are giving, you say company secretaries are more. Okay? Why? I will also tell you, NCLT and company secretaries, because of company law background, they are there. Don't say no, say CMA.
I would suggest that we take it up.
No.
He should not.
Sir, 1 minute.
I'm an IP. I'm a leading IP in Bangalore. I'm a CMA. Okay?
Sir, welcome. Most welcome. See, I came from background of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, as well as now I'm in corporate. 1 minute. The number of cost accountants appearing before various agencies comparative to CA and other profession is marginal. That is my intention. Otherwise, nothing else. Okay.
Yeah, please. Right now, we would not have interruptions.
One statement like that makes this is the CMA convention. Don't give an.
No.
We will respect the process. When we are following a process, there is a time for a question and answers. Please, no interruptions.
Okay. This is not to hurt any profession. This is to share my thought process. See, CMAs, that's what I told. Manufacturing, they are strong. Even today, cost audit report, without them or without collating the details, without a pricing strategy, no one can beat them. Coming to other profession, they are into various sector. Why don't you explore that possibility? That is my question. Okay, I am more concerned about that. If they are coming beyond this, certainly they will be flourishing. This is my view, Thiru.
Yeah, please. Any other points? No, I would like to request CMA should respect process. If the process is not respected, then we are not good CMAs. This is a panel discussion, as I mentioned in the beginning. We will first have the views by itself does not have any impact. We are people who are capable of analyzing. So we listen to the views, analyze it, and then respond. So my request, I have a lot of respect for GNV, so that's not the issue. But please do not interrupt. Let's listen to the views, and then we'll come back. The point that is being made, obviously in a session like this, please do not get carried away. If I don't sit down and list out 100 items that are good with CMAs, there is time for that. We all know that. We have to also discuss which are the areas which we need to be looking at. I think that is more relevant for the profession than saying CMAs are extremely good at numbers, they're very good at analysis, they're very good at reporting, they make good reports. We want to listen to that next 1.5 hours. I'll repeat whatever is good for CMAs. And CMAs are next to God only in certain aspects. But that is not what we want a convention like this to deliver. We should deliberate the fact we should have an ability to look at ourselves in a mirror and say, these are areas which we need to be looking at and go ahead to improve. We are doing well, no doubt about it, but can we not do much better than what we are? And that is the question before the panel. So please, and I think the panel has to respect the time and ensure that we are able to give you valuable inputs. That is the point. So the second part, I would request the panelists to talk about what do they think. Please don't mistake. They may say certain things which probably the institute is doing in any way, but we might not have come across that. It might not be public knowledge. Or individually what you're doing may not be known to everybody. But is it public knowledge? Is it something which everybody would say, yes, CMAs are good at this? So my request to them, to the panelists, is to say what needs to be done. What is it? From the point of view, let's classify it broadly into 3 or 4 categories. One is from an academic perspective. That means in terms of the course, in terms of the material, in terms of the training, in terms of the sessions that they have, in terms of development, self-development, personality development, overall technical development. That is one area. The second is in terms of the newer areas, the research and the value add that we are doing the profession on a continuous basis. The third is how well the profession is projected. And to use a very, I'm sure some of you will get upset, to use a word marketing, how well the profession is really represented and made to be known at the decision-making levels, at the levels at which it would be important for the world to know about this. So I would request them to talk about these buckets of how do we really correct some of the issues. Let's assume that there are issues. And if those issues are there, how do we really make sure that we are able to come out? What should we be doing? And who should be doing that? Primarily, it's all of us, ultimately. But is there a driver? Is there a method by which this can be done, which will help? So I'll start with Madam Smt.Rani vergis.
One thing I feel is at individual level, for anything, any profession for that matter, we often take a professional certificate with an intention of getting a good job. If we as individuals can think beyond it, okay, we land a very good job, fine. But once we land a job, after that, what is it that we want to contribute to wherever we are? So if we can really get deep into it, again and again I feel, in our organization also I've seen when SAP was introduced about 14 years ago, in Bell, SAP was introduced. After that, almost all the accounting function has been taken over by SAP. So what is it that we professionals can do? We have a lot of CMAs and a lot of chartered accountants. And we all, we all do the same work. We all end up giving information. Again, I personally feel that we have to move away from there as individuals. We should not restrict ourselves. We should not feel that we are simply going to give some information to somebody based on which and that information is also as that person wants to get. So let us move away from that. We have to first of all have the courage. We need to have the courage to give the correct information, provide the correct advice, and with all, I'll use the word honesty, because many a time we forget to be honest while providing the information also, because we are already driven by some kind of an objective which has been given to us. If some capital investment is to be made, bhai ye karna hai. So you make the information according to that. So let us move away from there, give the honest information, and feel that, credibility within us. One is that as individuals, that is totally an individual approach where you have to look inside and do what is best required of you for making your life full of contentment. Second thing is, from the institute side, I often feel like now with NFRA and all coming, all this, there's going to be a bigger review system over whoever is certifying. But I often feel these three, or even if not three, at least the two organizations come together, Chartered Accountant Institute and the CMA Institute, and form a bigger, larger body. Maybe it's not a governing body or something, which is kind of an advisory body, an ombudsman, to whom one can go, and probably CMA Institute could take the lead and bring out something which gives the country a feel that there's somebody who's going to see into the real cost of things. And like in our organization, when we look up to the cost CMAs in the organization, we really know that they can understand what that is, because the curriculum has provided them that wherewithal. So when they bring out that information, the same way I'm sure the whole body of CMAs can bring out that information along with the chartered accountant body, and then we can form a body which really doesn't require a government to bring in NFRA kind of organizations. So where is our credibility? We have lost our credibility because of some other reason. That is why they have to bring such a big organization over us. So probably the institute can take the lead to bring out something, suggest something, so that we move away from smaller objectives and go for the bigger requirement of the country. Thank you.
Now I request Mr. Karthikeyan on this topic.
See, I feel two important points. One, I want to borrow from Mr. Muralikrishna's discussion. Connect with people. Unless otherwise we connect with people, things can't move. Connection with people is most important and crucial, where it can be a collective decision by an individual as well as by the institute. That is one. Second thing, we should adapt for change. See, 20 years back or 15 years back, we have two leading brands in television market. Now those companies are not in existence. Now the entire thing have been moved from Solidar and Dynora to new entities like Samsung, LG, or whatever it is. Adaptability is more important. Unless otherwise we are ready to adapt, things can't move. CMAs, of course, they have traditions doing certain activities. Beyond traditions, there are many other areas, many other functions. Beyond manufacturing, service industries, please look into it. Certainly, it will be a healthy sign. This is my view. Thanks.
We CMAs who are in the profession, in the sense that who are in employment, many times, like Ma'am was telling, we get restricted ourselves into the numbers. I think our curriculum has done enough for us to understand and how to go behind these numbers. We need to get into the processes. We need to get into the other areas of as well. How understand the other areas, like whether it is a service industry or a manufacturing industry or anything. We need to come out of our own shells, which we create within the boundaries of numbers. That is the one biggest disadvantage I have seen in some of my working colleagues who are CMAs. They need to just move out of numbers and then get into strategic decision making, or whether it is a commercial aspect, we are all very well equipped for all those things in terms of understanding the legal nuances or in terms of taking commercial decisions, everything. Like we say, there is a CMA behind every management decision. Why can't CMA himself give that management decision instead of that one? We need to get moving forward in the sense that we need to move into a management. That is where I feel some of the people, some of the CMA friends of mine, including me rather, we fail over a period of time. It is time that we start moving into management rather than providing informations to the management. That is the first step. Maybe at individual levels, we need to do that. Second thing, some of our CMAs who are all, placed in a better positions should always look for CMAs whenever there an opportunity comes. In the sense that I always call up the institute and ask for some help in terms of the providing the resumes and things like that. I have recruited quite a few people. And very sorry to say, last time when I asked, I didn't get even one resume also. That is the institute, what the institute could do better. It's a real sorry state of affairs. I needed 2 finance managers and I couldn't get it also last time. But not to mention that we did it or anything, but that is where the institute could make it a better, an employment kind of a situation for all the CMAs who have passed out and things like that. And from the institute point of view, maybe our PR is lacking. And when it compares to all the other 3 professional bodies, certainly I don't think that we have a better PR system compared to them. It's too big as decisions to be made at the right levels. This is my personal opinion. It is time that institute make necessary changes in this direction as well. This is my views, please.
Thank you very much. I think they've been very pointed and very focused in their responses. Broadly, if you look at it, clearly, information and how the information is used and projected. Clearly, from the point of view of user of information to executor of information, and from executor of information to decision maker, the entire journey needs to be traversed. And CMAs probably tend to think of themselves as advisors, as people who are doing the background work, who are doing that. That is changing, but not adequately. To the point that Mr. Diwakaraiah made, I also have been a favorite employer of CMA, and I've ensured that wherever there is an opportunity, somehow I had a lot of responsibility in certain directions like recruitment and so on. But there, the difficulty is that we don't have a mechanism by which there is a common placement kind of an agency, which should be there definitely. But the extent of that is being done. It is on paper, it is there. But if you actually get down to it, you don't get it. You don't get the right kind of people. So what we used to do was somehow search, and there I can tell you the chapters and the regional councils and so on, they've been very helpful than the main portal. So what we used to do, one thing which I was successful in my own way was that we have a very large technology consulting area. Thousands of people are employed in that, both at the development level as well as the execution level. And India has got a big outsourced center. And there I was able to, I can say in a very, very remote way, instrumental in ensuring that a very large number of CMAs are placed. But that was all done through chapters and through contacts. But the great news is that they all did so well professionally compared to the typical IT background people. And that was a great thing. That is something which I was relieved when I got the feedback over a year, 2 years, that this group was able to really contribute in the domain knowledge far better than anybody else comparable, any other comparable professional. But having said that, to make people to take that route and move into a line which probably would mean that you would probably not be core CMA is a decision. And that decision people have to take. And in doing that, our people have to be educated in the career openings and the possibilities of career. We do that. We do have sessions. I know that I have myself addressed a number of sessions across the country in many of our regional councils and also in our chapters. But the point is that that is not done as a very regular exercise. So there should be the entire website and so on should encourage our youngsters and students to really look at that very significantly. the one area which I believe from an individual point of view is from the practitioner side. The practitioners have to realize that CMA is a valuable profession. That means CMA is value. The value means that you really work with your customers in a very respectable and respected manner, which means you do not unnecessarily ever get into a situation where your services customer tries to play one CMA against another. This is a big problem. I have been on the other side, and I've always said, you call 3 CMAs for this particular job, you talk to them and evaluate their professionalism first. The question of asking for a commercial proposal will come only after you select on technical basis. You call them, discuss with them, find out whether they have this industry experience, whether they have this IT experience, whether they have this experience. Then having selected, then you ask him, what would be your time rate? I make it point. I never ask them to say, give me a full quotation. No, it makes no sense. Because this is a very sad reflection on our profession, and this is something which we need to care. And this can be done only at individual practitioner level. Please do not get into an undervaluation situation. Today, the profession is, one of the key problems that we face is that. And this spreads across. If you go to and be an employed person, a person who is working in industry, this problem does not occur. But practitioners is where the growth of the profession is. The professional growth comes from both sides. And practitioners have a very significant role. They are the ones who can innovate. They are the ones who can go to new areas. They are the ones who can project. And if they are able to say that the value, minimum value that one would pay per hour of a CMA's time has to be X. And that X is a very large number compared to what it should be today, what it is today. So that is something which I request all of you to look at this. The institute can do this by having certain guidance and certain methods of internal dispute resolutions wherever it is necessary. In competitive situations, in certain things, you can change the rules of competition. That's what the world is all about. How do you think brands exist? Brands exist and brands get paid for. And CMA is a great brand. It's a valuable brand. Why should we undersell the brand is something which each CMA has to ask himself or herself. And that is one of the ways that individuals and the institute together can change the face of the profession. The more you start doing it, the more you start driving in that direction, you will find the valuable assignments come to you. And you are respected. And you take a medical professional, you take a lawyer, for example. Do you think they will ever undersell themselves? They would not. The problem is, the reason is that they believe that they have value. And we believe in that, correct? And when we believe in that, why do we have to do this? This is an area which probably a lot of education requires. I'm not blaming anyone. Please don't take it as a blaming of anyone. It is not so. I'm very much hurt. The reason I'm saying this is, in a public forum like this, is that we need to have an education which goes into it. Curriculum needs to be looked at. How do we really make people perceive that there is something valuable that I'm undergoing? That this course is something which I learn, which I have every right to earn out of the learning that I've done. And that is something which we'll have to keep in mind. So some of these are areas which are little more softer, but concrete changes in curriculum, concrete updation, and amount of research and effort that we put into research is very important. A professional institute is recognized by the kind of new things that they come up with, by the innovation it provides. And if you look at the comparable institutions across the world, you will see the difference in terms of the number of, just take a simple, this is information available on the net. You look at the leading developed countries' institutions, similar institutions, what is their output in terms of new papers, new developments, innovations, changes that are practiced and published, and look at our situation. I'm not, again, please don't take it as I'm very much part of you. This is what we need to be looking at from an overall perspective. For this, we need to be available at the regulation. I have been part of certain advisory standards and so on for some of our institute as well as from outside bodies. But there, the acceptance at the different levels of higher, and let's talk about Delhi itself. If you talk about Delhi, the central government, and the acceptance and the acceptability levels are not to the extent that I would like. It should be higher. That can be done only when you say we are talking about knowledge, we are talking about expertise, we are talking about professionalism. And that is where I think the differentiation will come. Now we have a reasonable amount of time. I would request you to place a question specific to a panelist if possible. If not, you leave it open and then we will take it by turns. If someone else is, one of them is feeling more comfortable about answering a question like that, please make it very simple, crisp, I don't think we should share views here. Views are all there. The panelists have been asked to request we've been requested with views, so they've given their views. We don't want a discussion on the view themselves, but if you have a question, you want clarification, please feel free to ask. Please identify yourself by name and then ask the question. Yes, please. No, that gentleman was asking behind. Yeah, please. Please give a mic or so, if possible. Is it possible to give a mic? There. Can you please come front? Yeah.
My name is Anil. I had been working as a cost audit assistant with one of the cost auditor, and I have faced some problems while doing the audit, and I have seen that management is not very well equipped with the production records as required as per the costing record rules and audit rules for that matter. And I would like to have a mandatory support by the Companies Act itself, so that we can have an internal control for the management to have the records maintained. Just like we have company secretary in every, for certain category of companies, why don't cost accountants be included in the Companies Act itself, so that we can have some of the cost accountants get employed there, and the costing records will be maintained by the management itself. Because when I went through the MSME sectors in around Bangalore, most of the management doesn't show any interest in costing field, because they say it is only one-time activity, so we don't need any cost accountants. So I think the management should have the knowledge about the institute, and sir has told that PR is required, and I think our institute should represent those MSME managements by calling them and giving an introduction to the supporting institutes, so that we have a regulatory support by management as well as Companies Act. So is it possible? Then it would be helpful for all the students and all the budding cost accountants.
Thank you. Thank you for your suggestion. I think it's a very valuable suggestion. Is there any response to this, to his suggestion?
In fact, in addition to that, I was just thinking probably the institute could, follow up with SEBI. SEBI had recommended some things for the like mandatory maintenance of cost records and cost audit. Some follow-up can be done by the institute with SEBI's recommendations. And also, whether like we have that half-yearly, quarterly and all limited review, whether costing is also included in this review, because in the annual report, the director's report gives a lot of information. That information is generally only things, big things that the company has done. It is never about some specific things, like they can always give more interesting information about the cost trends, key performance indicators, risk indicators, trends or factors like external economic condition. All these things, probably the institute, whether they can follow up with SEBI to make this compulsory in the annual report. Because otherwise, director's report will always have very big flowery things about what the company has been doing. If it can be specific cost trends that has happened in the company, then people will understand the need for it. And it will help the shareholders, creditors, everybody to get a correct information about any organization. Thank you.
Very valuable.
Hello. So, I would like to...
Your good name, please.
My name is M.S. Anand. I'm a member of all the three institutes. So, I have got three areas of concern which I would like to put before the panelists. The first one is, yesterday I was shocked to see the way decisions are being taken in the agricultural sector. It was really distressing the way in which the subsidies are fixed, the minimum support price is fixed. They don't even have a basic information system which a village accountant can provide in the first place. And based on that, crores of public money is being spent and is being utilized. I know that at this point of time, it does not concern the profession, but at some point of time, we may have to face it because banks are facing huge NPA situations because of these decisions. And what would be the panelists' take on that? About the development of an agriculture information knowledge system which will benefit the farmers and in turn benefit the whole country, because it has got a huge ramification, number one. Number two, You have got something called as the CFO Act 1990, enacted in the United States. Why don't you bring in cost accountants, chartered accountants to be appointed as heads of finance of the respective departments in government itself by an enactment? So institute should lobby so that the knowledge of the members can be put to use in budgetary and management of financial resources of government. That's a big area impacting all of us. And number 3, independent directors. So, like, it has been made mandatory that all independent directors have to be from, you have to give exams for that. So the institute should be pushing for having more and more chartered accountant, cost accountant, all members of profession into the independent directorship, so that this is a upcoming opportunity. So what is the take on that? And number 4 is, the profession is in danger of disappearing within the next 10 to 15 years because you've got artificial intelligence, robotics, chatbots, and whatnot. Where do you see the profession heading from now on? Unless we reinvent ourselves in a really big way, I'm sorry to say that we may cease to exist. So what is your take on all this? I know it's really lengthy, so your comments.
No, I think it's very valuable. The first 3 points are very good suggestions. I mean, I don't think anybody can disagree with that. And as a matter of fact, agriculture is a big area, and it represents a significant portion of the economy. And unless CMAs have a role to play, and this role needs to be mandated to start with, then it will become a market-driven one. But so I totally agree with all your 3 suggestions. The 4th suggestion, the 4th idea or the question that you're asking about the future of the profession, and that is something which actually, there was a very interesting seminar about 6 months back, and this was a question that was asked about the mandated or the regulatory professions. What is their future if all the regulations are not going to be outside the way of interpretation? See, today, one of the key things that people are supposed to be doing is interpreting. So they are saying anything which is going to be of the nature of interpretation, like you rightly said, artificial intelligence will take care of that. So I would think that the rediscovery of the reinvention or the way in which we are able to change the way we are working and way we are seeing, which means today the curriculum and the preparation and what we are envisaging needs to change. That can change only if we define the future profile. This was what was mentioned in that seminar. The future profile of a chartered accountant or a cost accountant or any other, let's talk about CMAs here. What do we think is a future profile of a CMA? What does a 25-year-old CMA who has just come into the profession after qualifying, what does he do? Where does he face? What world is he going to see? So you have to start from the fundamentals, and if you redefine this, then you can change what he needs to learn and how he should be prepared. And this is an exercise that, interestingly, some of the world bodies are actually taking. And I think it's a very good suggestion, and I think the institute should probably do a brainstorming on this and say, and take the help of wherever necessary, the government and other regulatory bodies to define whether there will be regulations at all, whether there will be the law, the way we define law, will it exist at all, whether there will be things which are today the violation of law, which is where the attention is most. And that is something which is a very, very interesting point. I totally agree with you. But for that, I think it's what you, Mr. Anand, what you have done is an outstanding job of putting these points forward. There are different ways probably which we need to do. I'm going to be giving a summary to the organizers. At that summary, I'll definitely put this down for the institute to look at this in this. Would you like to respond, Diwakaraiah, to what you said?
Certainly, the way we are going to change ourselves, adapt to the changes to ourselves, unless we do that, I think any profession for that matter will be in kind of, danger of extinction. One first thing is that we ourselves has to move from that to a decision makers and position ourselves as possibly, why not MBAs? Like MBAs, in what way we are less than an MBA? And why not we move into that direction, whoever has been working in the, inside the industries, whatever industry it is. And from the professional point of view, whatever Mr. Thiruvengadam was mentioning about that, I think it is in our own hands in terms of uplifting our own services, what we provide. What is the cost of our services, we should be knowing. And as we uphold that profession, I am sure that the issue of extinction may not come, but certainly it will not be in the same form what it is going to be.
Thank you so much. The other related to what you just now mentioned is the fact that the changes that you are asking for in each one of them, for example, independent directors, the kind of approach is very nice, but the implementation execution is something because there is not enough consultation of the profession itself. This is where the problem is. So if we have to be a body which is always consulted, which is always on call, whenever decisions are taken, whenever regulatory changes are made, and that is what we have to position ourselves to be. That we will be, if there are others on the call, it doesn't matter, but we should be on the call if there is a major change, or even if a minor change, there is someone at the level, there are dedicated people who will be called upon to say whether this is right or not right, what is the view of this profession. That is where I think if we reach that, and this happens in certain countries, and this is exactly what we should be, and that is a positioning which we'll have to look at. Would like to add anything?
So this profession will not diminish. Only thing, avenue should be shown to the people, and we should encourage practicing professionals. Then automatically things will set right. Coming to independent directors, as he rightly said, see, connect with people. That is the only source of, advertising, getting advertised and getting into the system. See, many professions, many many people are available in the process. Only thing, we should have a right people for the right job. See, for heart operation, we will not go for an orthopedic surgeon. We will be looking for a good heart surgeon. Likewise, identify the right people, go for it, and do it whatever you want to do. So institute should lobby, or institute should make a proper representation. Certainly things will move in the right direction.
Thank you. Here.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
No, wait. There is.
I'm the queue.
Yeah, please.
My name is Kamlakar. I'm a practicing cost accountant. I had an opportunity to do one cost audit of a healthcare industry. I'm not talking about the billing pattern, as Mr. Diwakaraiah already said. Shocking is method of calculation of salaries for doctors. There are two elements. One is variable, one is fixed. Variable is based on the conversion rate of the script he is designing. So his conversion, our doctor conversion rate is more, she or he will be getting more. So the doctor will be giving prescription for medicines, prescription for X-ray, this thing. And her or his salary depending upon the conversion rate of the tests. It is shocking. As a cost accountant, I could not do anything because my cost audit report is very limited parameters. So then what's the use of cost audit? Unless I cannot able to report this information. And the question is, my independency also. If I know that this is to be reported, whether I can report it, unless I'm independent. Because I'm not appointed by the third party, I'm appointed by the company itself. Third thing is, you have to make use of the cost audit report such a way that it is useful to society, government. Now, cost audit is only annual ritual, so it is of no use either for the company, for the government, it is except for the cost accountant like me. How do we improve this?
Thank you for bringing out one of the most difficult parts of managing a healthcare industry. The doctors are in very scarce at this point of time. India has got somewhere around something like 1 million doctors, whereas we should be having somewhere around 6 million doctors for the basic requirement. And whatever you mentioned it now, the first part of it, that variable pay is being paid on the conversion, is the most non-ethical practice, both the doctors as well as if we are certifying as a cost accountant, both of us are doing. I'm not pinpointing anything, but this is the most ethical part. And yes, Mr. Kamlakar, this is there in some of the places where it is the transparency is not there. The basic problem in the healthcare industry is the transparency. And what I can see is that I could not see many of the, leave alone CMAs, I'm talking about whether CMA or a CA or any of the finance professionals has got anything to say or in a position of a decision making in any of the big firms, including places like Narayana or whatever it is. I don't want to name the companies. This unethical practice is something which needs to go. I think, to my understanding, whoever is certifying this kind of either the accounts or whatever, I think it's also in our hands to see that some of these issues are brought to the fore.
Yeah.
appointed by the government, and they should not go by L1. And the report of the auditor should be such a way that is useful to company also, management also, government also, me also.
Correct, very valuable. Yes, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jaskamal. I am from BEL. So my question is related with the course structure as of now. If you see CPA USA and CMA USA, there is a change in their.
We're not able to see you. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So there is already change in CMA USA and CPA or USA in their academic. Like they have already added blockchain, AI, all those things, which is the future actually. So why not institute is thinking about that and changing these parameters, means changing to add these things like AI, like blockchain. So if we add these things, I don't think other institute is still having those things. So that will be a added benefit. First thing. Second thing, I have seen the people have once qualified, whether they are chartered accountant, CMA or CS, most of the people stop studying. And yeah, so why we should not think about ki after 5 years, once you have qualified, again you have to give some kind of exam. Then only your degree will be valid or something like that. No, you can choose, means any subject. It's not like that ki you should give 8 or 16 paper. Suppose you are in taxation, you take taxation, and institute should have some question like one day exam or something like that, MCQ or anything. After 5 years, you have to give exam. So there will be again, means industry will know our value. Ki, okay, he's not old dated CMA. He knows whatever is the need. Can we think about that?
Good. Thank you very much. And these are valuable suggestions. There's really no response from the panel. We agree with it. We just want to,
To answer a specific query, see, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, they are coming out with a lot of notifications every day. That itself is a good exam. So if you practice, then people are, they are already suffering on compliance part. Why don't you have one more exam you are asking? That is not required. If you follow MCA notifications on regular basis, that itself is a good practice.
Yeah, please. Just 1 minute, please. Yeah, please go ahead. We can hear you.
Good evening. I am Ramasubramanian from Coimbatore. I am a practicing cost accountant. I want some basic thing. Because when our report should have some value. Because when we give our report, after this HSN code, the value has really come down. Because industry is not covered. Out of the industry, only the code is covered. For example, I can tell you in the paper industry there are 5 products. Mostly all the companies are making all the 5 products, but 2 products are covered. My managing director is asking why I should have this report. So can I cut your fees off? Same way, plastic and polymer, the major thing I can name the GD Naidu company Water Tech. Out of last time it was 32 crores, I am not covered. Now it is 42 crores covered. Out of the 5 products, only 1 product covered under the HSN code. What my report? They said because of you we engage, but it should be engaged by the company itself on its own interest. After this HSN code, the major product, automobile industry is not covered. Do you think that it is on its own? Then how the government is able to take the data from our CRA4 report? So it should be industry based. Earlier it was there. Most of the practicing people are not able to do because their fees is CA fees divided by 2, 6, 10. That is the reality. So we are not bothered about the fees, but whether we are respected. Because we are talking in our own forum. It is CMA convention. We can do a lot of things and everybody is happy. Are we talking to outside people?
Exactly.
That is not there. And institute again lobbying, as somebody told,
all the directors are CMAs in our institute. They think that they are CMA, but the public relation lobbying requires some other qualification, not only CMA. When we have all the 20 directors are CMA, everything this, we know everything. We talk ourselves. For your information, whether right or wrong, when the draft committee of 2013 Act, our CMA is not represented in the committee.
Yeah,
Then it is not so, because earning is not difficult. But we have studied. Institute and our seniors are telling, don't think about cost audit. We have GST, we have IP, everything is there. When I am a carpenter, you cannot say in a construction you have masonry, you have plumbing. Because I have studied cost accounting. I want the job for my cost accounting only. For your information, please let me complete. I am also a company secretary. I can earn because of the compliance. I need not be a practicing cost accountant. I am interested in the subject. I am continuing as a cost accountant. I want to talk like this because without a member of the cost accountant practice, I cannot comment. That's why I continue. I want to do something for the profession. I was in the National Advisory Committee. I prepared engineering and textile in SIRC. That was included. But unfortunately, our team is not represented by automobile industry. It is not covered. Whereas in the final part, you can see medical. What is the purpose of doing costing for medical implants? Mostly it is imported.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Right,
Very
thank you.
valuable word. The last question, please, because we are running out of time now. We have the next session to start.
Before
Yeah,
I
please.
ask the question, I just want to give you one or two comments also
Yeah,
that
please.
may help
Sure, sure,
just
no
to share my view. I am a cost
But
accountant
briefly, yeah.
and recently qualified company secretary. So I believe in continuous learning. One of our delegate mentioned. So I got a qualified CS in 2015 while I was 48. So that is one. So continuous learning, something which we all should believe and pursue one. Second, coming to my 30 years of a career, as a cost accountant, it is up to us. We have no need to restrict to manufacturing. So I am fortunate to have 15 years of career in manufacturing and 15 years of in service industry. So it is up to us how we pursue the career. Qualification should not be a barrier. That is one comment I would like to make. Second, one important thing for a career navigation, what I've learned in my 25, 30 years of career is we should learn the art of networking. That is very, very critical for us to not only internally, as externally, external world, how we connect within the profession and outside the world. That is very, very critical. And third thing, when it comes to one more thing where as a cost accountant and CMS we can do is once you get a basic knowledge of functional knowledge, you should always be ready to move into people management role as well as a different functional role. I was fortunate to move from finance to even leading productivity, work with operation. I also moved into sourcing. So it is up to us how we take the liberty of in terms of job rotation and career navigation into different functions. That will help in terms of enhancing our knowledge. One regret from a corporate perspective, because what I have seen and what has happened with me also, we try to restrict, because when it restricted to functional role, then we will go maximum up to a functional head or a CFO. But if we can do a better partnership with the CEOs and operation team, we will be able to move into CEO and leadership roles. So that is one area I think as a CMA from beginning of our career, we should plan that we should not restrict our role only to functional role. We should rather move into leadership role as well as including heading the function businesses. And probably Mr. Mohan, who was one of our panel member yesterday, he has given a lot of knowledge in terms of what we should have pursued. And I would also like to see, because I have seen a lot of youngsters at 50, I have a lot of regret in terms of what I have not done. While probably I got a successful corporate career, once we get into that rat race and look at our profession, we completely ignore the institute and or networking. So one thing we should do is, while we have a successful career, we should always respect our profession and continue to associate. That I totally missed it. And last 2 years at least, I've joined this chapter and remaining part of my life, I would like to remain associated with the chapter. That is one thing which I would like to highlight it. So my question is, sir, after 25, 30 years of a corporate career, somebody decided that now, in today's world, the corporate career, the life cycle is getting reduced from 35, 40 years to today. Probably I was fortunate to have 25 years. The way it is moving, it may reduce to 10, 15 years of corporate career also. So how we can successfully transition after a couple of years of a corporate experience into either a consulting role or including doing a strategic partnership with the startups and companies, so those kind of a profession. That's my question. Thank you.
Since the last question, I'll just answer that. No, we will. Okay, just last question. It has to be a question.
Yes.
No.
Yes, it is a question.
Yeah, no, there can be only one last question. As a person
I'll
who
have
is,
penultimate, let him be the
Yeah,
ultimate,
yeah.
okay?
please make it a question.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Murali Krishna, Additional Commissioner Commercial Taxes, E-Governance. Thanks for inviting me before this, I gave a lecture. And I wanted to sit back and look at the panel discussion about the past, present, future of CME, okay? That's it, the overall discussion if I look at it, from goods to services, whether we are good in goods or whether we would like to do best in services. The best is GST. So it'll take care of both. What I'm trying to tell you, when you said the connecting and the people, that's what I said in earlier. The last 4-5 years, I've seen the CMA congregations at different places, and I've become a Nilay the Kalavidura like. So whichever the CMA conventions, wherever it is, certainly I'll make my time and come and deliver what best known in this one. What I saw in the last 5 years, I have seen the growth of 20 members to the more than 300 members. That's marketing. Means to say, you people are you're getting into the marketing position. As he said, who is not in the show in the last 2 years back is got into the show. Means to say, you people have to work together as a team and you have to grow up together, then things will happen. Because when I called first time, I can still recollect my memory. I was standing near the government press, and I was calling Vishwanath, but I never seen him at that time. I knew only, different organizations are there. Okay, I listed everybody. I was calling for them to have interactive meeting. Why I'm trying to tell you, that's the first time I saw in the last 15 years of my career at that time. Already 22 years I've put in. Another thing to add on to that, sharpening the knife. CMA is a graduate. Okay, we have a cost management accountant. Okay, we have a certificate. Everything we start practicing. You have to sharpen that knife. Unless until you sharpen the knife, the utility will go off. Whether you want to cut banana or the carrot is a question. Everybody can cut the banana with the unsharpened, but the sharpening the knife is most important. As one of the youngsters said it, CPA, USC and all that. Yes, whatever the technology come into picture, yes, that gives a thing that, okay, we are out of the market. Because basically I'm a veterinary doctor by profession. Okay, I got into the taxation and I'm heading e-governance section. Look at the transition phases of my career itself. If you can think, if you have a passion, you can do wonders, my dear friends. It's not blockchain or artificial intelligence. End of the day, nothing can replace the human being. Remember, nothing can replace human being. Only have to sharpen our knives. And as I said, add on to certain courses to the particular subjects. That will make up the new youngsters to get into the system and to understand. Because even I have seen one of the close member of my family who is studying for cost accountant. In fact, I have brought him for many events and organizations. People are interested. Basically, he's an engineer doing his cost accountant. People are there changing the professions, they're learning things and going ahead. And adding to my friends, HSN. So HSN was the most deliberated 3-word letter from the last 30 months. It's irony that in some fields going off, in some fields getting in. The only thing that you people have to represent the concerned ministry or the concerned state, concerned people, then you have to ask for what the right actually it is. It's what actually is asking the perfect thing. When you have been appointed as a carpenter, do me a job, you're a carpenter. Or you ask me to do a masonry job. But learning a masonry is value addition. But losing a carpenter job, that is a basic survival question. Am I right? See, that's what basic survival should not be left. You can have any number of value addition, could be CA, CMA, somebody I met, advocates are there. See, that's a value addition game. So with that particular, I would like to say one thing. Yes, your cost accountant, CMA, whatever it is growing well, doing well, and you're one of the, basically the backbone, the strength to the economy of India, my dear friend. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Suraj. Yeah, please.
Good evening, panel. So I would like any of you to draw an insight as to cost accountants being included in the definition of accountants of direct tax law. So wouldn't this be an opportunity for a CMA to expand his scope of his profession?
Yeah, definitely. So this is a matter these are the kind of things that one has to bring it up, where the institute is in a position to take an advocacy and take it up the right point. Definitely. Basically, my request would be for all the professionals is to keep raising issues which can be attended to at different levels. And that is something which would be really meaningful. It's a very valuable suggestion. We'll take it up. To talk about your point in terms of professional shift of career, it is possible. And we know a very large number of people who have done it very successfully. We'll take it offline and we'll be in touch, and where I can give you some specific ideas as to how that is done. So because we are running out of time, I have to close. See, this turned out to be a panel which is not 3-4 people. It is some 150 people of panel. So that is something which has been effective. The panel members have been able to connect with the audience in a way that the audience was drawn into the discussion, which is great, which is what the whole purpose of it. I would like to thank my fellow panelists. They've been very valuable in their advice. And they spoke very crisply and firmly, very clearly as to what they wanted to convey. And I think we've got a fair amount of points which I plan to do, unlike it happens, it's my practice whenever I get into an exercise like this. I will be preparing a summary of this, will be shared with the chapter chairman, and whatever needs to be done in terms of this, little follow-up on what can be highlighted, what can be escalated to the institute and other bodies, we'll try to do. Thank you so much for your patience and listening, and I'd like to again thank my fellow panelists. Thank you very much.